Nowadays, when I'm in a play, the very first thing I do when we move into a theater is I grab a dark red lipstick, frosty pink doesn't have the same panache, and scrawl in my dressing room mirror my new mantra in red. This is the main event. Yeah, Shakespeare 'tis not. But that's not the point. You see, it means something to me. Besides, one day at a time, while an excellent motto, doesn't really work for me. I can't help but picture Bonnie Franklin screaming, "Schneider!" for the umpteenth time to canned laughter. You're more than welcome to borrow my mantra, but to be fair, I must warn you about a scary potential mindfuck, which really only applies if you're a gay male and over 40. Whatever you do, please try not to think of the poster for the film The Main Event, which showcases a tightly permed Barbra Streisand in one of the most nauseating costumes in all of celluloid history. Boxing shorts over nude pantyhose. Wait, or if you are gay and over 40, maybe that would help. Wait, hold up, am I gay and over 40? Anyway, okay. Regardless, I make sure to write this is the main event, as big as I can, so that as I'm ready to go on stage, I will never, ever, ever forget how lucky I am to be alive, and that I get to do something I love with all my heart. But back then, when I was batshit crazy, I grew used to waking up having absolutely no recollection of the night before. Every morning, any triumphant performance I may or may not have had was consistently diluted by a queasy stomach and a grim fear of the unknown. However, it was far, far worse when I wasn't in a play, because then I was bored. And boredom and addiction are not friends. In fact, they're each other's mortal enemy. It was right around 2001 when every night became lost to me, never to return. Of course, I never blacked out. I left that to tacky people and frat boys. I simply drank until I fell asleep. And on really naughty nights, perhaps I'd oh so elegantly pass out. And yes, there's an enormous difference. I just am a little unclear as to what it is. Soon, I found myself pushing cocktail hour earlier and earlier until 3 o'clock in the afternoon seemed perfectly reasonable. I wisely took great pains to avoid calling anyone back after 8 p.m., realizing that if I couldn't say, "Hi, it's Kristen," without it sounding like, "Hi, it's Kristen," returning my LA agent's phone call would perhaps not be the wisest career move. Unfortunately, as some of you may already know, one of the glorious gifts of alcoholism and addiction is a severe lack of discernment. Thankfully, another gift is memory loss, so I'm spared most of my more mortifying drunk dialing moments. However, I wasn't spared the daily ritual of waking up in the morning only to be slammed with the terrible knowledge that I had called someone. And try as I might, I had no recollection of who that might have been or what the fuck I said to them. I was also becoming hideously bloated, and having long ago been blessed with a face prone to fatness, which my mother would lovingly refer to as full, I now had a double chin in all photographs, even while looking up. Plus, I started making big mistakes, whoppers. You see, an addict's most important objective in life, after, of course, obtaining their drug of choice, is to convince everyone that they're a happy, healthy person who just enjoys a cocktail or two. That they're normal, whatever the hell that means. I still don't know. At any rate, I found myself forgetting important rules that are indispensable to all addicts who prefer to avoid an awkward get-together with their loved ones and some stranger who's been paid to drag their ass to rehab. Here's the big rule I broke over and over again. After the age of 25, women no longer look hot with a red wine mustache and purple teeth. Sorry if you don't like that one, ladies. Unfortunately, I have another one just for you. The day you graduate from high school is the day it no longer matters how darling your outfit is or how big your boobies are. If you slur, girl, you're pathetic. Now, you might be thinking, well, she's way off on that one. I know from firsthand experience, some guys find slurring irresistible, and I wouldn't even think of disagreeing with you, gorgeous. In fact, I'm sure you're right. The only bummer is they're the kinds of guys who prefer to gaze into the whites of women's eyes, think talking's overrated, or trip a woman and laugh hysterically at her when she's on the ground. Which means these heart stoppers are either dislike women, have no teeth, despise women, are on parole, or simply believe women are evil. For God's sake, scoop him up, girl. What are you waiting for? Now, don't think I forgot about you gents. While it is frustratingly true that you do age far better than we do, if you are over 35 and the highlight of your entire year is the day you get to host your office's tailgate party at Lambeau Field, that's kind of sad. However, if you wind up getting so hammered at said party that you poop your pants in front of your 10-year-old son, then welcome to the land of the truly tragic. Go Packers. This land, also known as Schultzville, is a charming enclave where esteem-shattering events become the norm. Picture Mayberry, except Charlie Sheen's the mayor, Courtney Love's the chief of police, and Lindsay Lohan's the librarian. Every day is new and exciting. You want proof? No problem. Just off the top of my head, here are a couple examples of how awesome this place is. First, only in Schultzville would it occur to you to give your married boss an impromptu lap dance at your firm's Christmas party. Adorable! It's also the only town I know of where it's just simply understood that the best place to vomit is right on top of a party's coat bed. Bathrooms are a pain in the ass anyway. Or for you couch potatoes, another super convenient vomit receptacle is right in front of your face in the mouth of the girl you're making out with. You had me at hello. Still not convinced this is the greatest place ever? Good, because I'm not done yet. How would you like to be awoken, instead of some hideous alarm clock, by screams of rage emanating from the mouth of your ex-girlfriend's father? You greet this fine sunny day with the dawning revelation that not only have you passed out in the dead center of her family's fancy front lawn, but that you've also clearly enjoyed a profound case of explosive diarrhea while doing so. You have no idea how you got there, but it's clear by the faces of the horrified neighbors and her revolted family, not to mention the sound of approaching police sirens, that you better skedaddle, but quick. See what I mean by new and exciting? And it's not even over yet. The cherry on top of this glorious morning is when you get to take the overcrowded 45-minute train from Dobbs Ferry to New York City with a broken heart, the most stomach-churning hangover of your life, all while sitting in your own feces. Oh, man, I love this town. No wonder the population's booming. By the way, I didn't make any of these up. They're all things that really happen to people I know. If your face is burning with shame or recognition, don't feel bad. More than likely, almost everyone you know has spent a nice little chunk of time here in Schultzville. Or if you were really lucky like me, you had a lovely timeshare right on the beach. The longer I lived there, however, the worse I felt and looked. Besides my fat face, double chin, sallow and acne-prone skin, and the fact that my teeth were consistently stained a gorgeous grape color, I soon began to suffer from a lethargy so profound that sometimes just the act of brushing my teeth felt like a long day at the office, and I would fall winded back to sleep. Then it started to take me forever just to pee. Eventually, it took a 20-minute ritual of deep breathing combined with the faucet on full force and the latest issue of O magazine. Unfortunately, these exhaustive efforts usually resulted in a depressingly sad little trickle. Plus, there was this constant heartburn. Now, listen, the heartburn I'm talking about has nothing to do with those commercials featuring balding, shamefaced men being scolded by their nagging wives for eating too many meatballs. This heartburn meant business. The only way I can really describe it is, maybe imagine 1,000 splinters in your throat, or 100 paper cuts being doused with lemon juice, or being forced to listen to Sarah Palin discuss foreign policy. Let's just say it was exceedingly uncomfortable. I told myself I must have developed an allergy to some unknown substance, not alcohol, never alcohol, like MSG, or tomatoes, or maybe peanuts. All right, look, I wasn't a complete idiot. Yeah, okay, I was. But I can remember saying to myself quite a few times, this cannot be good, Kristen. In fact, I think this could be very, very bad. But most of the time, I was far too busy enjoying the amenities of Schultzville, which, by the way, goes by a lot of different names to a lot of different people. For example, in the Midwest, it's known as Schlitzville. Augustine Burroughs calls it magical thinking, and for Carrie Fisher, it's wishful drinking. My shrink likes to call it denial, but I told her it doesn't have the same cozy ring as the others. Look, I don't really think it matters what name you call it. The important thing is we all know how to get there. If only leaving were as easy. Unfortunately, the longer you stay in Schultzville, the road out becomes harder and harder to see, until eventually it vanishes. But what did I care? While there, I didn't waste my time thinking about icky things like going to rehab or dying. I would simply crack open my second bottle of Merlot and revel in the lonely luxury of being able to concentrate on truly meaningful and challenging things, such as mastering the increasingly difficult and decreasingly rewarding art of feeling better. Now, I became a master of this delicate and oft misunderstood life skill. Now, I'll admit it's not as lofty as curing cancer, but the dedication it takes to procure drugs, understand dosages, obsessively count pills so you know exactly when you'll run out, keep track of which doctors know what story, what pharmacy has filled which prescription when, I think it's fairly say that healthy amounts of organizational prowess, intelligence, and people skills are needed to be as successful at drug addiction as I was. I was also a pretty damn good liar, which didn't hurt. Somehow I managed to keep my addiction a secret from everyone other than those who really knew me, but most of the time even they only had a niggling suspicion or a vague feeling something was off. My real triumph, if you could call it that, was that somehow the press never found out. No TMZ footage of me leaving Bungalow 8 with white powder on my upper lip. And that's not just luck, my friends, that takes serious skill. Mostly luck. I may have been adept at the art of addiction, but unfortunately this also meant for many years I was a card-carrying member of what is referred to as a functioning addict, which, trust me, is the worst kind. You see, we functioning addicts devote so much time and energy towards keeping our addictions alive, happy, and well-fed that by the time we've made that oh so subtle shift to non-functioning addict, our brains are just so fried we're incapable of grasping the concept that things have shifted drastically and not in our favor. We have absolutely no ability to see the desolate disaster our lives have become, how many family, friends, and lovers we lost, or how close to death we actually are. Judgment has disappeared along with everything else good in our lives, and we simply cannot stop. To me, it felt like I was speeding on the Autobahn towards hell, trapped inside a DeLorean with no brakes. And even if I could somehow stop, I'd still be screwed because there's no way I'd ever be able to figure out how to open those insane cocaine-designed doors. It was indescribably awful. I felt no hope, no joy, no nothing. Only a powerful and all-consuming hatred for my own guts, which is especially fascinating when you take into consideration that my guts hated me right back. A fact I became aware of only when they blew themselves up in a brutal and shocking act of revenge. Well played, guts. Well played.